Yeah, and I think it's, you know, after every spring game, you have all the same feelings that everything you do well is negated by something you do on the other side of the ball. But I think the overall competition, I think the level of athleticism that we have out there, and to have some experience back, you know, we've had a really good spring. So I'm excited about what we have. I like the way the guys competed tonight. And, you know, we got obviously a long ways to go before we play Florida on September 1st. But we've had a very productive spring.
Dave, looking at the whole spring instead of just this game for just a moment, were there a guy or guys or maybe a position that really you think took a big step forward in this game or this spring?
I mean, it's hard to say this game. I think we've really improved in the secondary. I think, you know, the investment we made last year by playing so many young players, you know, Rylan Ward and Daryl Hunter and Von McCoy and Cam Truss, I think those guys, you know, you have everybody back and they've played a lot of football. And now you get Boo Gates back in safety, and I think we have a chance to have a very good secondary. I think Paul Swan is a guy that's really improved from a year ago at linebacker, and I think Gabe Martin and DJ Lynch are coming along. You know, I think our offensive line has improved. You know, I think Jordan Russo's moving him from tackle to guard has really made us a more physical group up front. I think that'll help us. You know, the one concern when you look at last year's team and this year's team is what we lost at receiver. And, you know, and I think tonight was kind of indicative of the whole spring, is that, you know, we have talent out there, but right now it's just too inconsistent to win with. There was too many balls dropped. You know, you saw some very high-end play, and then you saw inconsistent play. And that's an area that you're glad you have another, you know, 4.5 months before the first game, because the players are there. You know, I think the amount of athleticism we have at receiver, I think the depth that we have, I think is as good as we've been, but we don't have the experience. It's a bunch of guys that haven't played a lot, and today they look like a group that haven't played a lot.
Coach, how significant was it for you to be able to play an actual game format tonight? In other words, the numbers, the depth, to go out there and play a real game in your spring game had to be a nice change for some of the guys who've had to play it the other way the last couple of years.
Well, I think, you know, for coaches, we were going to get our work in either way, but I think for the players, it's a nice change-up. You know, I think when you have a spring game and, you know, you have a crazy scoring system that nobody understands, including the coaches, and we're the ones that put it together, and half the time we don't understand it. And then when you try to say, okay, it's the first offense and the second defense as a team, you know, for the players, it's just like another scrimmage. And part of what you want to create in a spring game is a game-like atmosphere, a game environment, managing the clock. And where the depth really helps is that, you know, the guys that were playing together tonight, you know, are an injury away from playing with those guys. You know, we go 8 or 9 deep on the D line, so when you mix your #1 tackle with your #3 tackle, those two guys will probably play together at some point next year. So you still get good work, it's still productive work, and I think the players enjoy it a lot more.
What happens now? I mean, going into the you know, this off period. I mean, how tough is it, I said, out there for you to just kind of let them on their own and make sure they come back in the shape that you want to be in?
Well, we have one more practice. You know, it's a little bit not traditional, but we have we make the spring game the 14th practice, and then we have one after the spring game, and we'll make corrections from this game, and we'll start working on Florida a little bit. And but again, like I said out there, I think like every coach, you get through your 15 spring practices and you wish you had 15 more, because there's so much you need to work on and so many things you need to get better at. But I think the #1 thing that we need to do, and I felt this way at the end of last season, is that we just have not been as strong as other teams in the league. And we made tremendous strides in the weight room from January until March, and now we've got a great period here that we can make gains again. And I think we probably need that as much as anything. So these next 3-4 months are very critical for our program.
Dave, you talked a little bit about the captains that you guys need today.
Yeah, I mean, it was, In terms of the captains, I mean, it's a player's vote. And, we had Chris Jones, who was almost a unanimous captain. He ended up with more votes than I've ever had a captain ever end up with. I mean, but there was, sometimes you want 2, sometimes you want 4. But in this case, we had 5 other guys that had considerable support and votes from their teammates. So, I felt that's what the team wanted. That's who they voted for. And I think we've got great balance. I think we've got leaders by example. I think we have vocal leaders. We have 3 on offense. We have 3 on defense. We have guys that are very valuable to us on special teams. And, I think we have guys with tremendous character. I mean, Chris Jones is a great leader, great worker. He's been a very high-level player. And then you have somebody like Ronnie Goebel, who maybe hasn't played as much, but is such a great leader and such a high-character guy. And is just a great example for our players on and off the field with his work ethic. And then also on defense, and you have Paul Swan, who has just been an unbelievable worker in our program since he got here, and has just willed himself into becoming a good football player. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Dominic Flellen's going to be a 3-year starter for us. I mean, he's only a true sophomore right now. And for him to get votes like that, to me, is a good indication of what he's doing. I think Matt Shills has really earned the respect of his team for how much he's worked and how much better he's gotten. And then the one that caught me off guard was Bart Tansky. Bart's a walk-on that hasn't played a lot, but just is a great student, one of the hardest workers in the weight room, completely unselfish, cares about the team. And I was really proud of our team for voting for him. That to me, that our team, and we have players that recognize how valuable somebody like that is to the football team, to me is a sign you have a pretty mature team. That he's probably not going to catch a lot of touchdown passes. He may not catch a ball next year, but they recognize what he does to make our team better on a daily basis. And it's unusual that a team would see that value, and it's great that they saw it, because Bart's a very valuable member of our team. So I'm really proud of him, and I'm really proud of our team for voting for Bart.
Anything else?
Yeah, about the game itself. What did you think about the call for the onside kick to start the second half?
I guess it doesn't matter what I think. It's, really what's important is what does the press think, what do the internet boards think, what do the blogs think. I mean, those are the things that football in this day and age matter. So, it was one of those calls that, if Coach Carl would not have had his team so well prepared for it, I'd say you got one over on him. But right before that kickoff, he said, "Hey guys, watch for the onside." And he told the officials to look for it and notice that 2 guys were off, and you could see him working those officials.
The hands team was up?
Yep, and he made some subs in the front line, and so it was a very gutsy call, but I got to say that the coach on the other sidelines was very well prepared for it. But at the end of the day, he ended up winning the game, so that call's forgotten. At the end of the day, you found a way to get to W, and that's all that matters. So that becomes a very, very gutsy call, as opposed to the bonehead move that cost your team the game.
Exactly.
So, all right, well,
Anything else?
Thanks for coming out.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
See you down in Gainesville.